guys, it's Eric G from Around the House, and I am thrilled to announce that our massive back catalog, nearly 1,900 episodes packed with home improvement tips, DIY hacks, and expert advice, is now available for free. Dive into years of inspiration to tackle on your next project. And just a heads up, some podcast players limit how far back you can go. So if you can't find it all, just head straight over to our website, aroundthehouseonline.com, and listen to every episode there. Don't miss out. Start binging today. And thanks for tuning in to Around the House.
Get you on the radio, yeah, you got on the radio.
Welcome back to hour number 2, where we got to get you back on the radio. This is Around the House with Eric G. We're diving into the second hour of home improvement talk radio. It doesn't matter if you're working on a condo in the Pearl District or if you're working on a Richland Ranch home. I'm here to get that project started, planned, and completed. We are your live and local home improvement show. This is not a paid infomercial. I'm not some crazy wingnut on here talking about making stuff up. We're just having a good time. 877-733-1011. And that's 877-733-1011. We're talking home improvement. And you know something? It is a great day out there for home improvement. It is not dumping rain. It's not snowing here. We are actually out enjoying the sunshine out here, which is great. And I know that you have questions as well, because you know something, there are so many different projects out there, and there are so many different ways to do them. And that's one of the things that I really like about home improvement these days, and the technologies that are out there, is that there are a lot of things that will help you as a homeowner, or you even as a renter, get those projects going, because technology is getting greater. There are so many things out there, like these apps. We're starting hour number 2 right now, where we're diving into phone apps that'll help you get going. And you know, when it's springtime like this, I've been looking outside going, okay, I got to do this. I just got to get the lawn dried out enough I can actually go out and do something without being in a mud pit. However, there's an app right here that I really like, and that is Quikrete. Has an app, and you know, that's the bag concrete you see at many home improvement stores. And there's a couple different brands, but in the Northwest here, Quikrete is one of the big ones. Well, they have an app for their phone, which is super cool, because you open it up, and I've got it on my phone, and there's a concrete calculator right there, so you can put in the area of the project you're working on, and it'll tell you, just like a calculator, how many bags you need. You can also jump on there, and there are how-to videos on how to do the project. So it doesn't matter if you're doing a concrete countertop, or you're wanting to do, fence posts or whatever out there. There is information from the manufacturer to tell you the right way to do it. And I like that. The other thing I thought was cool too is if you're a contractor or handyman out there working on projects, they also have a product calculator where you can go on there and it'll actually tell you where that closest store is to get the product. So if you're looking for bags of concrete and you're over at somebody's house helping them out and you don't know where the store is, you can actually just look it up right there on that, which I thought was awesome. Now, one of the things too that I thought was cool with this is, they've got call support too. So you can actually go on the app and you can chat with them right off the app, and they can walk you through and help you get through that. So that's another app. If you're out there doing projects, there's so many things you don't want, you want to look at. If you're looking out there, hey, I want to do this concrete project outside, and you're worried about the weather. So if you're worried about the weather, you can go on there and say, okay, I have so many hours before the freeze comes, or so many hours before I have these things where I can actually go through and plan this project and know a little bit more information. And a little bit more information can go a long, long way to doing that project, because if you're out there pouring a little concrete project out in your backyard and it freezes or it gets rain all over it and you didn't cover it correctly or follow the instructions, that's going to cause a mess, and you're going to have to do it again. And concrete's one of those things that'll cost you double because you got to get rid of it afterwards. And I went into that. I talked about it a couple weeks ago. I felt bad for this guy. He had hired the wrong contractor for doing a project like that, and he hired a concrete guy to come in there and do his back patio, and it was done wrong. And when concrete goes wrong, you got to pay for it twice, because you got to pay once, actually 3 times. You're paying once to do the job. If it's done wrong, you're going to pay to have somebody haul it off, and then you got to pay to have it done again. And that can get very, very expensive. So Quikrete is another little mobile one that I like that is super fun. One of the ones that I liked out there too that I've got on my list today, and just to kind of recap some of the things that we've gone through, RoboKiller in our first segment we talked about, that is the phone app that keeps you from getting as many robo and crank sales calls that you don't want. Ryobi Phone Works, which is a cool app that we talked about last hour. That is one that you could make it into any kind of a bunch of different sensors, from a moisture meter to a laser measure to even being able to do inspection scope with it. So it's kind of like a little bag of tools that goes with your phone that you can use for that. And then we talked about the Milwaukee One Key, where you can track your tools and keep them, working at their fullest capacity, as well as the ladder safety app. And that ladder safety app is really cool too. And be careful with that. Now, one of the things I want to talk about before we go out to break here is another one of these tool apps that I like, because they give you free tools. Who doesn't want free tools? Well, they've got a cool little thing. It's called WTI, What Tools Inside. And What Tools Inside is an app that you put on your phone, and they have a giveaway during weekdays. They have one giveaway that they do. And the cool thing with that is if you're a homeowner and you want to play along, it doesn't cost you anything. You put the app on your phone, and you have a home improvement person out there, celebrity or a blogger or TV host or whoever, holding a box, and you get to guess, and they give you a hint. You have to guess what tool's inside. So once you guess that, if you win, if you guess the right thing, you go into the pool, and then this goes on 5 days a week, and they pick out one winner, and you get a free tool shipped to your house. So I tell you what, free tools, and it's a game, and you get to guess. I got a feeling that the odds are pretty good, especially since it's a fairly new app, that you got a pretty good chance of winning stuff. And always like winning. And there's some quality tools on there. There's stuff on there that I see, and I'm like, oh man, I could really use that tool. So check out What Tools Inside. That is something that is going to be super cool to win. Well, who doesn't want more tools when we're working on projects? So that is, again, one of those nice little apps you can play with and do stuff with. Well, I wanted to tease ahead some of our shows going to be coming up before we go out to break here. We got some fun stuff we're going to be doing. I'm going to have, in the coming weeks, a real estate expert coming on. We're going to talk about what to do if you're planning on buying a house or being a new home buyer. We're going to talk about some of the problems that you run into in the coming weeks of when you're putting your house up on the market. What should you be doing before you do it? Because there are so many things to your house. You're like, oh, do I paint the front door or do a kitchen remodel? What am I going to do? So we're going to be talking about those things in the coming weeks. And then some of the other stuff that we'll talk as well is what are the things on the inspection report that get everybody hung up on that sale. You're already, okay, I got an offer, everything's great, we got an inspection come by, and there are things that pop up on so many inspection reports when you have an older house that maybe it's a little bit easier to identify that then, beforehand than in the middle of the sale when people are getting freaked out and you might lose the sale over something that you could have kind of prevented. So we'll be talking about that soon. So, all right, when we come back, we'll be taking all your calls at 877-733-1011 just as soon as Around the House returns. Around the House with Eric G. We're talking home improvement. And, this segment Around the House is brought to you by Western Construction Systems. More rain is here. If you have a leaky basement issues, call Western Construction Systems for a free and reasonable estimate. The integrity of your foundation is their specialty, guaranteed. CCB number 94222. So leaky basement, always want to get that stuff fixed because that's never good for your home. Well, we've been talking about apps that save you tons of time and money and kind of can be entertaining. But rule number one, when we get phone calls, which I want you to call at 877-733-1011, that's 877-733-1011, we'd love to take them. So welcome, Elizabeth, to Around the House.
Well, thank you, Eric. What I'm looking for is a diminutive staple gun. I bought a Boss Stitch, and it's called a Tackler, but that was back in the early 80s. And I can no longer get staples for it.
Okay.
And I tried the ones they have over at Home Depot, and the mechanism is too stiff for me to work because I now have arthritis in my thumb. So I was
Gotcha.
wondering if you have any suggestions of where I could look for a small staple gun.
What are you using the staple gun for?
I usually use it in the house for, I've got some cardboard covered posters that I put up.
Okay.
I've used it to put cloth up on my ceilings because instead of painting, I used cloth in places.
Okay.
Mostly indoor type stuff where you don't need, it's not going to be in the weather or not get a lot of stress.
Gotcha. Well, I tell you what, the easiest staple gun to use out there is one that is actually a cordless, it's a battery-powered one that is basically you're just pulling a trigger. So as far as the ease of use, Milwaukee makes one. It's a little 12-volt rechargeable battery that goes in there, and all you do is basically pull a trigger, and that thing will staple anything you want it to staple. And I have one. So as far as ease of use, that is going to be one of the easiest, but more expensive ways to go. I mean, it's not too bad on the cost wise, but that's going to be a more expensive a stapler than going something as a handheld use one. But if you do a lot of stapling, that is a wonderful way to go.
Well, I don't do a lot of stapling. How large is that? The one I have is probably 6.5 inches long, and the body is 2.5 inches tall.
Oh yeah, this is more like a big handheld stapler that you would use to put up insulation and things like that. It's not that big, but it's not one of the little nail ones.
Right, I have a big one that I can use outdoors to do things. I used it to put some carpet on steps.
Okay.
But I'm looking for something that I can use to get into tight places.
Okay, I would take a look. Arrow makes a couple of them. Bostitch makes, I think, one that are just smaller staples. They make a lot of the smaller ones you get into. There's a little one that I know Milwaukee has. I think you can get at Home Depot. It's about 7.5 inches, so it's a little bit longer than that. But that's just a little hand stapler as well, and it's about $20. But it's really a compact design, and what I like about that is it's got a longer handles for pushing it, so it gives you a little more leverage for using.
Ah, yes, that would be very helpful for me.
So yeah, that's about $20. So it's an affordable, easy stapler from that point of view, and it's pretty good. And actually, we'll do some of the little nails as well if you get the nail kit, so you can actually do some brad nails with it too.
Oh, okay.
So
well, I sure appreciate the information. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thanks for calling, and thanks for listening to Around the House down there in Klamath Falls. I appreciate it.
You bet.
All right, have a good day. Yeah, that's the thing with staplers. I tell you what, I was putting up some sound deadening foam, and I have a little home studio where I cut my commercials and stuff with it. And I had gotten some new art over the holidays and stuff for my home office. And so I ended up going through and having to move some of the sound deadening foam that's in there because that's where I cut some of my commercials and stuff, like I was saying. And I tell you what, that battery-powered staple gun is ridiculous cool because you can just sit there and I can hold the foam up, and I was just stapling, going bam, 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 and you're just pulling a trigger. And that is a easy way to go because in the past, if you want to do that, you had to have a cord or things like that. So, Can you get a $20 stapler to do the same thing? Absolutely. But there's something cool about having to do bigger projects, especially if you're tackling big projects like insulating a space or something like that where you want to crank through it. Having the right tool ends up being a big deal. And what I like about it too is that if you get the right tool, tools these days are becoming more ergonomic from that aspect. You know, some of the old staplers you get done and you just about have a bad case of carpal tunnel by the time you're done doing it because they weren't measuring the use of your hand. So nowadays you're starting to see more staplers with longer arms and things on them to make it easier to use, and then using springs and basic stuff that way. And that's some of the things that you're starting to see with tool companies where 10 years ago, people weren't worrying about the ergonomics and making your hands hurt or the dangers of those things. And so that's kind of what I like moving forward in the tool industry is you're seeing them test with sensors on people's arms and how's that drill work under load? Is it sending shockwaves up your arm and into your shoulder? So as you see technology go, they're actually working on having people get less injured, which I like that, and especially in these days where we've got so many safety things you need to be wearing with tools out there. I mean, I got a beard. I didn't know until I started looking at this stuff that dust masks with a beard don't really work well. I can't put just a regular, normal face respirator on without having something that's going to go over my whole head. This beard ain't going away, so I got to come up with a better option. So, that's something that I have to work around as well, just on the safety side. And there's tons of safety gear and stuff out there for these things. Just, I always do this. I was doing a More Good Day Oregon segment this week over at my executive producer's house where we were changing out her tile countertop and putting in a very small piece of slab granite that she had on it. And we were busting up tile out there, and those safety glasses are key. And it's so easy to forget some of these dumb things like safety glasses and ear protection out there. But until you end up peeling something out of your eye or peeling something, or going to the doctor because you got that ring in your ear because you haven't been using the right hearing protection, it makes a difference. And trust me, with my rock shows that I've done and the hundreds and hundreds of those, I can still hear pretty well. But, it doesn't take too many loud power tools out there to really start making an impact. So, just spend some time. Safety equipment's cheap. It's a heck of a lot cheaper than what your copay is going to be on your insurance. And, I have seen plenty of things out there where people are getting, grinder wheels stuck in their safety glasses and stuff like that because they explode and they got really close. So be careful out there doing your DIY projects. More Around the House will return just after these important messages. Welcome back to Around the House with Eric G. And little Mixmaster Dane Vodder over there running the control room, doing his side of the music. We're having a good time in here. We have been talking about phone apps and things that can help you, around the everyday household stuff. We've been having a good time with that. We've had some great calls as well. Now, one thing here that I wanted to talk about today is how to save you money. And we've talked a little bit about a lot of these other things, but there's one here that I will attest has saved me money. And I'm actually going to have them on this show here this springtime. And this is the Ratio Sprinkler Controller. Now, what this does is it's an app on your phone. There's a little box that controls your underground sprinklers outside. It is basically smart scheduling. So what it does is it pays attention to the weather, and it controls your sprinkler use and your water usage outside based upon what's actually going out in your yard. And so what I like about this is that you would put this sprinkler controller in, And then you have to go through, it's a 5-minute install. I did a thing on this on Morgan, Oregon last year, so I've got a video that I'll post up on this. But here's what's cool is there's nothing more irritating to me that when you're running a sprinkler system and you're paying for water, especially here in a metro area where you're not using irrigation like you would from an irrigation district as you would on the east side of the state. But I tell you what, there's nothing more frustrating when I'm paying good money for expensive water and I pull up out front and I see my sprinklers running and it's raining. That drives me insane. Well, this stops that from happening, which I love. So you get to water your way. So you go through and really set it up on your phone app. It's really easy. You put in, do I have sandy soil? Do I have clay soil? Is it grass? Is it garden? Is it trees? Whatever it is, you set up each segment of your sprinkler system up that way, and then you let it water your yard, and you can pretty much forget about it. And so what it does is it saves you tons of water out there, because if it's 105 degrees, it goes, wow, you need a little more water on that. Or if it's going to be 55 degrees, they go, you need a little less water on that. And so it really actually tracks your local weather. It knows when it's going to rain. It'll anticipate, say, hey, we think you're going to get a half inch of rain this afternoon, so you don't need your sprinklers this morning. And so it can save you a ton of money, and it works on the your Apple, your Android, or whatever. And I tell you what, it did so good for me last year. And new time in the house, I'm curious to see how it goes this year. But when I put it in, I know it turned my water bill from that point of view. It cut it by half, because I just had an old 20-year-old sprinkler controller that was working great. But using the right stuff like this can save you a ton of money, and you're not wasting resources out there as well. So 877-733-1011. That's 877-733-1011. If you've got an app that you're using around the house, I'd love to hear about it. Or if you're just trying to get those honeydew list under control, I'd like to hear about that as well. And if there's something you want to talk about as far as you want us to maybe do a how-to on, love to hear from that. You can also message me over at ath@kxl.com. That is a great way to get a hold of me via email during the week. And, of course, if you want to see some fun stuff during the week, go over to Around the House Facebook page, which is at ATHKXL, and you'll see a lot of these apps that I'm putting up today. And I did put up kind of a funny picture that I had seen this last week. This was kind of fun. You'll find it over here. It was a picture that I actually took. This was in a real estate. A realtor put this up, and I love my realtors out there, so bear with it. I'm just making fun of one thing I saw. So this is by no means an attack on you great folks out there, but there was this massive crack in a foundation. And I had to take a picture of it because they had put a sign on it that said seller has been here for 15 years and has not had any issue with the foundation, even though that crack, that is over a large structural crack in the foundation. So I had a good funny laugh at that. I hope you will too. That's why I like sending stuff up there. Well, this last week I did a Morgan, Oregon segment that aired this last week. And I tell you what, it has been going off the rails with people watching this. I talked about dishwashers. And I talked about dishwasher maintenance. How many people are taking care of their dishwashers? Are they cleaning them? Are they wiping down the seals? Are they getting the junk out of the basket on the inside down there that grabs the broken pieces of glass or the pieces of plastic that came off something new? Are you cleaning that stuff out? Are you looking underneath it to see if it's dripping water before your hardwood floors or your tile floors get destroyed? Little things like that. And then I started the debate of, do you pre-wash dishes, or do you just put them in there dirty and scrape off the big chunks? Well, I'm going to give you a hint, because this is one of those grand debates that everybody has a thing to say about. When you're talking dishwashers, the new soaps, because they have to use enzymes instead of all the phosphates that were dangerous, the new soaps have enzymes in them. You need to have some food on those plates for the soaps to work correctly. So what happens is, if you take that dish and you wipe it off and clean it and wash it in the sink and then throw it in there to kind of sanitize it, if you've wiped all the food off there, there's not really a lot of food in there to feed those enzymes. So the enzymes can't really get going. So, and if you've got a newer dishwasher, they have sensors on the drain line when it's pumping through the cycle. If it sees clean water, it goes, oh, you have clean dishes. So it, as an energy saving option, it will shut down the cycle early, going, ha, our job's done. These dishes are clean. So you might actually be wasting water by pre-washing those dishes if you've got a newer dishwasher and you're using all of the new soaps because they are all enzyme-based instead of phosphate-based. But long story short, if you're pre-washing those dishes, you actually might be spending more money on water and not letting the dishwasher detergent do things correctly. So I got that video up on Morgan Day, Oregon, that I did for Morgan Day, Oregon this week, and that is up on Around the House with Eric G Facebook. That has been a hot subject. I think I got about 3,000 views on that thing up there right now. It has been shared, and the grand debate is going. And one person on there commented, "Hey, I don't like your science." It's like, hey, I don't make up science. I wish I was that good, but there's lots of science in these new cleaners out there. And then make sure you use your jet dry or whatever your rinse aid is. So many people forget to do that. That's what actually helps keep the dishes anti-spotty. You know, it's part of the cleaning process. That dishwasher was designed to use it, so make sure you do that as well. But I got the whole video I did up there. And then on Tuesday, I'll have one coming up here as well that is going to be a great how-to on how to remove a tile countertop and then put on another countertop material like a piece of remnant slab granite that we just set down on top of that one. And that was a good segment that'll be airing on Tuesday. So we'll dive into that. That'll be a great one. And I want to talk a little bit more about apps here. And we're going to talk about it in the last segment of the show here as well, because I want to talk about Ring and I want to talk about Nest, which are two great apps out there. And I will tell you, I have a funny one too that I got to use this last week. We've got Julie's girls in the house, and I tell you what, when they call up watching a movie scared, one of the nice things about having my Lutron light controller that controls the lights in the kitchen, you can sit there and actually take the lights and dim them with your phone from the other part of the house and make it look like you got a poltergeist thing going on. So you can have some fun with these apps too and mess with your kids, which is kind of fun. But that might cause more counseling later. So I warn you, that could be a more expensive option. So we can have fun with these things. I do the same thing with my sprinkler controller. I can turn the sprinklers on at any time. That can be fun as well. Well, we'll talk more about this stuff just as soon as Around the House returns. To Around the House, where I hope we've answered some of your questions and help you get that, these projects under control a little bit and maybe help you save some money while we're doing all this. If you think of something you need help with after the show ends, just drop a note to eth@kxl.com and make sure you go over to the Facebook page and like it and follow it. That's Around the House with Eric G. And if you missed any of the show today and you want to hear what you missed, and the podcast is going to be available soon on our radio webpage, aroundthehouseonline.com, or check out iTunes for a free download as well. We got it up there on a SoundCloud. We've got it up there on iTunes. And one of these days, I think it's going to be up on iHeartRadio app as well. We just got to get the all that stuff set up. So one of these days, that'll be coming as well. So you'll be able to listen to it even in your car as you're driving to work when you don't want to listen to something else. So that'll be the fun stuff coming up soon. So a couple things here I wanted to talk about before we run out of time is, first off, I have really enjoyed over the last couple of years, and I get to try out a lot of products that people send me, like, Ring doorbell and these kind of things. Those are fun to me, and it was kind of funny. I actually got to use my Ring doorbell video to help the police out. We had a crime that had happened down the street, and the police really wanted to get, of course, some information on that because we'd had a violent crime happen down the street, and there was a dude on my video that from the sidewalk running down. And I tell you what, that ended up being pretty interesting because you could see a guy running right down the street 2 minutes after the crime happened. And I think that they actually used that to help get him in trouble, but, help catch the guy. So that's the thing with these things. You don't know what the consequences end up being. And it's kind of cool that I've got that peace of mind. And what's kind of nice too is with the weather we've had, you can look on the weather app and see it's snowing, but I can be off driving around and traveling. I can look on my phone and take a look outside and see kind of what's happening. And what's fun with that is that I can see what the weather is. I can see if the trash guys come to get my, the trash picked up. There's a lot of little things you can do with these apps. The Ring doorbell's got the security, it's got lights, it's got all that stuff. I think it was just, purchased by Amazon this last week. So that'll be kind of fun to see how that plays in with Alexa and all those other things. Now, my Nest app, which is what runs my heating, air conditioning, that has been something that's been great too that you can use. That's got a great app that you can actually run, and there's so many of you guys have heard me talk about this, but it is important that you can actually run your house a little bit more carefully with the temperature. You can see it knows when you leave the house because it has a proximity sensor on it, and it'll be able to tell you if there's no activity there. And when there's no activity there, then, that's the thing with that is that it can turn it down. And I like it when I go on vacation because I can dial it back to a, safe and sane, level. But I tell you what, there is one of those things that again, you can have too many apps, so you got to be careful with it. I'm going to do this because I'm only going to have about a minute to do this, but I'm going to try to grab this one here. Scott, North Bend, welcome to Around the House.
Hi, Eric. How are you?
Good, man. What can I help you with?
So I got a question for you. We had a total bathroom remodel, and we had a drop-in tub laid in. Mm-hmm. They built a frame for it and everything like that. It sits about 12 inches up from the floor to the bottom of the tub.
Gotcha.
Everything I've read with tubs is they're supposed to have a mortar bed for them. Well, this plumber used maybe a 6x6 piece of wood for one side of the tub and 6x6 for the other side of the tub, and laid it on those two pieces of wood.
Okay.
And put some contractor cement in between them just to make sure that it lays inside of it. Well, when we get into the tub, we hear little cracks.
Oh.
And my guess is that it's not sitting on those pieces of wood, and it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering what your thoughts are on whether he laid that in there the correct way, or if it really should be done on a mortar bed.
I've only got about 30 seconds here before I have to go out for the end of the show, but I would say that if you're hearing cracks, it's probably something moving around down there. Now, I've seen guys go back in and remove that tub and actually drop it back down on top of a mortar bed like that. When you've got it sitting on an outside, ring like that, that's where you run into troubles. Why don't you send me an email at ath@kxl.com, and I'll help you with this when we get off air.
ath@kxl.com.
You got it. I'll get you the answers. All right. Thanks, man. Thanks for listening, Scott. These things are crazy because when they're making noise and you got popping and cracking, that can be a problem. Well, that's all the time we got for this week. Our thanks to Mixmaster Dane Vodder for making the show sound great, and to the one and only Donovan Sargent, who rocked the Communications Center. Most of all, though, we want to thank you for listening. We want you to join us next week from noon to 2, where once again we talk about maintenance, repair, and designing for remodeling and renovation of your home. Until then, be sure you do what you love what you do. This is the Radio Northwest Network. I'm Eric G., and you've been listening to Around the House.
Around the House with Eric G. is produced by Alpha Media USA in association with Design by Eric G. LLC. All rights reserved. Copyright 2017. We will be back next week. If you missed part of the show, check out the podcast on AroundTheHouseOnline.com. Remember, measure with a micrometer, mark with chalk, and cut with an axe. Thanks for listening to Around the House.
We're all over the radio. We're hand in hand in stereo. All over the radio with you. Anywhere the wind blows, anywhere the fire.
Hey everyone, this is Jim, producer of the Around the House Show podcast. If you're listening right now, you already know we bring you the best tips, tricks, and expert advice to fix, upgrade, and maintain everything in your home without the headaches or the huge bills. But if you're catching us on the radio or borrowing a friend's phone, you're missing out on new episodes dropping straight to your device every week. So do yourself a favor, hit pause for just a second, Grab your phone and subscribe to Around the House Show on your favorite podcast player. Whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, or wherever you listen. It's completely free, and you'll never miss an episode again. Thanks for supporting the show. Now let's get back to making your house work for you.